Hello and welcome back to Global Desi Women. I'm your host, Arti Solanki, a real estate broker at Living Large Realty, a business coach for women entrepreneurs, and an author for Hindu rituals. Joined by me as my co host, Bhavana Shelley, a brilliant business analyst and a fellow champion of cultural conversation. Welcome, Bhavana, again to the show. And today we are so excited to welcome a truly inspiring guest, Tannya Singh, born in New Delhi and raised in Houston. So she is an Houstonian. Tanya embodies the beautiful blend of East and West. She's the visionary founder behind Imroz Niwas. I apologize if I'm pronouncing it a
No,
little
it's perfect.
wrong. Okay. Which means house of today. It's a Sanskrit word, and that's why I'm having a little bit difficulty pronouncing. A brand that is so much more than a business. Imroz Niwas is a movement, a celebration of India's timeless artisans' traditions brought to life with a modern ethnic touch. Through this platform, Tanya and her mother, Sharmila ji, have built a sanctuary for conscious consumers, those who value sustainability, authenticity, and the soulful story behind every handcrafted piece. In today's episode, we'll dive into Tanya's journey, how her cultural roots shaped her path, what is it like running a purpose and driven brand with her mother, and the challenges and the triumphs of entrepreneurship in the global marketplace. So let's get comfy, grab your cup of chai, and join us for an inspiring conversation that bridges heritage, heart, and hustle. Welcome, Tanya. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Arti and Bhavna.
Right. So how do you pronounce first let me start. How do you pronounce the word?
You said it perfectly. It's Imroz Niwas. Yeah.
Rose Nivas. Okay, perfect. I was a little bit hesitant. I'm like, I don't know if I'm butchering the name. I don't want to do
Actually hard to butcher, I feel like it's perfect.
Okay, good. And since we started with the name, tell us the deeper meaning and the concept of this name.
Well, I'm so glad that you started with that because I think that encapsulates the whole conception of the idea in the first place. Imroz means today, and so it's kind of encapsulating the feeling of being in the present, especially in a time that's so fast paced and with a fast market and consumerism. So it's more like slowing down time, honoring the moment, the craftsmanship that goes into the things that we might take for granted, the things that we're overseeing in the rush of life. So it's very much that concept of being in the present moment. And then Nivas just means home. So it's
Yeah.
encapsulating the home of today, of being surrounded in a community that appreciates today and the slow paced, time that we seem to have, foregone.
Yes, yes, yeah. And it's a beautiful name. It is really a beautiful name. It's got such a deeper meaning to it, so it's really nice. So, Tanya, let's start with since you born in Delhi and raised in Houston, how has that cultural blend influenced your personal identity and the journey as an entrepreneur?
Oh, it's influenced it very much, and that's what's something that I really appreciate about your podcast as well, Aarti, this concept that you're bringing about multiculturalism, especially multi-generational, like passing it down from generation, which I think is so important to do because without that, it will become a dying culture. So it played a huge role in my upbringing. I moved to America when I was very little, but my parents were very sure that they wanted to imbue all of our culture. So they made sure that my sister and I, that we could read and write Hindi, and we participated in all of the cultural festivities of the culture. So that always played a very strong part in my identity. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose that while, acclimating to my American culture, which I was bound to absorb anyway, growing up as an American. And so I knew that I always wanted to do something with that. And my mom and I share a very close bond, and we seem to have a similar outlook on life, but also the multicultural theme that I know that you and your daughter share as well, Aarti, that, you view things from a slightly nuanced, different perspective, but overall the same concept, and seeing how Indian culture has kind of evolved and morphed through the generation, but the core of it stayed the same. So that very much has seeped into the ethos of Imroz,
Yeah.
that blending that old artisanship, bringing it to the contemporary platform and seeing it from the old perspective, appreciating it from the new perspective. So all that kind of plays together.
Yeah. So, since we started on this topic, how has it changed working with your mom? Like, I know for me and Bhavna, we both can say because we also have our we daughters, so we know that like every generation has their own thinking and there are ways of doing things. And so running a business with your mom is two different things, right? Like, raising a daughter is a different thing. If you ask me if I have to run a business with Natasha, I would be like, yeah, we'll have to have some ground rules to do something like that. So how has that been, and how has your relationship with your mother as starting a business, has that changed, or how have you dealt with it?
I definitely lucked out. I mean, my mom and I work so well together. And you're right, the boundaries were very important. And we set that from, point one that I would be overseeing certain parts of things and she would be over, because we both have things that we bring to the table and we strengthen each other, but we have to make sure that places where we would clash in ideas or opinions, we can do that in a constructive way because there's things that she brings so much value and because of the knowledge that she has and her perspective on how things should be. If you can appreciate that for what it is, that only strengthens the bond. And so I think I couldn't have been luckier with a better partner. I mean, we understand each other's flaws so well and we know we can like read each other to like know of like, oh, this is going in the wrong direction, we need to pivot. And also she handles certain things of doing business in India which I would never have known of how to tackle those type of challenges.
Yeah.
And so that's very valuable. I don't think I could have passed those hurdles without someone like my mom, being on the team.
Tanya, who came up with this intuition that let's do this, and how?
So that's actually a very serendipitous story in itself. So I know that everyone has their COVID story, and this is kind of it was birthed in the COVID situation that we found ourselves in. Actually, it's actually serendipitous for many reasons. My mom and I went to India in 2020 in February, and my dad and my sister had stayed in America. My mom and I went to visit my grandmother, my mom's mom, because she was ill. Unfortunately, my grandmother had passed away, and not because of COVID, right before COVID. And we extended our stay to help with family and rituals and such, and lockdown started happening. And everything fell into disarray, and everything was in purgatory, and we didn't know when we'd come back. And what was supposed to be a few weeks trip, we got stuck until
Yeah.
almost a whole year. We didn't come back until almost October. And so, yeah, so while we were there, it actually we noticed we always had this passion that we love working with artisans and the appreciation that Indian artisans had, but we never in a million years thought we'd do something with that or bring it to America or turn it into a business. That was not. But we noticed there was a crisis that was happening with Indian artisans, especially in Delhi at the time, that they domestic borders were closed. And so they couldn't sell in the markets, but they couldn't go back to their towns and villages either. And so what started very altruistically, we're very close to some artisans that were in Delhi Haat, you might know, where a lot of artisans from other states come to sell.
Mm.
So we started just commissioning a few designs to keep things going and also keep our creative juices going because we were all going mad globally, all of
Yeah.
us going mad. So that organically grew into like, oh, we should store these or maybe we can grow it. And it grew very organically and gradually until now where we have like two warehouses. We employ many people in Delhi and Jaipur, and we have a wonderful, like knock on wood, like such a wonderful team that I think that the key is finding the right people. And we're very blessed with that. Of course, we've had we've had some bad eggs, because you always encounter some not great people. But yeah, so
That's the part of business, right? Because
yeah,
it's always like that. It's never
yeah.
like 100% everything is gonna go the way you want. Yeah.
That's why it's important to have someone in your corner that, can protect you or can vouch for you. And like someone like my mom that will know how to deal with people, especially in, it's still a more male driven business, especially in India. And so, to deal with that side of things, how to, overcome certain things that I wouldn't deal with in an American business here, things are a little bit, they run a little different. And so to
Yeah.
know someone with that knowledge is very valuable.
Yeah. It's more of like they really are very street smart. And I think some of the trades and tricks that we lack here, like, the way their trade is done is so much different, like you said, than what we are used to here. So even when we visit, I came at a young age too. So it was like, I have difficulty when I go back to India too, because it's so different. Even just shopping there is so different than, it feels so weird. Like sometimes you just get out of the store without buying something and then you feel so guilty. But so how do you find these people? How do you connect with all these artisans? Do you do only just part of around Delhi or you do across India?
So we're starting to do across India. We do majority Jaipur now, actually. So it started in Delhi, and then we're growing a really wonderful team in Jaipur. And you might know a lot of artisans. It's by word of mouth. So once you start working with artisans in Jaipur, then they start saying, "Oh, we know somebody, or we get some of our stuff from like Hyderabad." So if from, oh, we know someone who knows someone, and then you kind of grow
Yeah.
your repertoire from there. But it is gradual, but, like, the satisfaction that comes from even small acquaintances or, like, relationships that you build, there's no meeting that, even if there's nothing to be gained from that, just knowing that you made some impact in somebody's, storyline, that brings the biggest for example, there's once we started, because again, I had no background of this, it grew so organically. New people that we were employing, young people that were, on government scholarships in college, they lost the scholarship once they started getting a salary, which I wasn't aware that would happen. And so we established like a scholarship fund, because if they work for us, then they would roll back into, so they could continue their education. And that's something that we didn't plan for. It just kind of grew into the business itself. But those little things that bring, I don't think any amount of sales would bring as much satisfaction as knowing that you make that kind of
Yeah.
someone's life.
And it's so nice that it's also you're thinking about the employees and giving back to the community in a way, like, helping them get their education, which is such a good thing to do. That's very nice. Very impressive. That's very impressive.
Tanya, do you like, when I saw your website, there are so many items and everything. Is that something like you do on a retail basis? Like, what's your dynamic about your customers and stuff?
So yeah, so we do, it's all retail, we do sell it, but first and foremost, it is to kind of, when it started, it was to more spread awareness of the karigari, that, the artisanship, that's kind of a dying art. We spoke to so many artisans that said, we learned this from our father who learned it from his father, but now then there's no new generation to teach it to. And that brought a lot of panic in myself and my mother, that that's something that should not be dying out. So originally it was just to, pay fairly to get these things done, to actually pay the value of the thing to get it done. And then once we have it, it kind of became a showcase of, come see the value of this. And of course, I would love for people to purchase it and decorate their homes with it, to use it. And the more that we can spread the word for it. But first and foremost, it was just to make sure this art isn't dying out, to make sure we can promote it, to bring it on a, global platform, to say this is, especially in such dark times that we have now, where everything is, so fast paced and people are losing sight of, you know, the the love and care that goes into one thing. I find it so important to, like, engage in the slowness, or, the beauty of the little things. So that's our first and foremost goal. And then of course then it's a retail as well, to keep things, because at the end of the day you have to keep it going to make sure everything's sustained.
Yeah. So do you feel like in such a, the market dominating mass production, how do you ensure your brand remains sustainable and, stay true to the ethnic every step of the way, like stay ethical? Like, how do you make sure of that?
So that's been our biggest challenge, Arti, honestly, because it's to get, it's to show people that that's also something that needs to be valued, because of course, if someone is seeing that they can get something from Amazon tomorrow for, for no money, why would they value something? So that's been our biggest challenge, especially in this era of, social media, which is a huge blessing and a curse at the same time because you have to stay competitive with that, but you can get your word across to promote the value of such a thing. Yeah, sustainability is our number one, along with promotion of this artisanship. For example, there's you might see like the pollution that happens in Delhi every winter because of the burning of the crop. So we've been talking, innovative design solutions with some of our artisans who are so, I mean, they are the most intelligent people, the artisans, that they think from all angles, sustainable, whether it's cost effective, whether it's this long durability. And so we're thinking of, creating objects now that are not only beautiful for the home, they'll be designed, with the contemporary audience in mind. So it's not so, the designs will be contemporary and streamlined using authentic craftsman skills and also using sustainable products such as a spiroli crop that they burn. So I know it would be just making a dent in a solution, but instead of burning it off, if we can use large chunks of that and treat it in a way where you can treat it so you can form like trays and tables that can act as wood. So instead of chopping a tree off to make a table, you can use this paroli crop instead of burning it off, and it will also save, carbon footprint of pollution. So things like that. And if we can get our word across to show people there is value in this, and also you can value the people that put physical love and care into making these things for you, it's worth the extra dollar and maybe waiting a few more days to get it into your home.
Yeah, yeah. And they're, I mean, absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous pieces. I went through the website and I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. So absolutely beautiful.
These are actually one of the earrings I'm wearing now.
Wow.
Yeah. So where we can show it, we just try.
They're really pretty. I noticed them.
Thank you so much.
What are the challenges besides that? When you initially started, what are the challenges did you all face? Like, because getting product from India, shipping it here, then delivering, getting it delivered, or drop shipping it from India to your clients here or all over the world. What are the challenges that you face just besides, once it's ordered or how it's ordered, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, logistically, it has been we've tried many different models, and it's always been for myself because again, I don't come from that background. It's been trial by error. So originally we had everything in our warehouses in India and we were shipping directly from there. And then many things happened that showed that maybe that wasn't the best way of going about things. It was, a few things showed that maybe it would be better if we had another warehouse in America that, for people that were buying in America, they could you could ship it from here directly. So we tried a few different models. Currently, we're actually working on a third model. So things are like constantly evolving. And so I'm not sure if even we have found a surefire way of this is how we'll move, from here on out onwards. But also it's from growing a network, from hearing how other people do things. Is there a solution that's more, sustainable and maybe cuts a few because again, because our thing is also sustainability and, eco consciousness, we do want to reduce our carbon footprint to where we're not shipping, 5 steps before it comes to your doorway. And so, it's constantly evolving to ask, what's a way that you're doing it? Maybe that's a better approach.
yeah. So do you have and I don't know how to say this, but so how do you educate consumers? Because for Indians, it is yes, we understand the artisans, we value them, we see that. But if they're not Indians, and then how do you kind of approach them? How do you,
Yeah.
educate them about our artisans?
Yeah, that is the challenge. But also I approach it as a very fun challenge. I think it's just social media. And without that, I don't know how people did it before social media, like to start their own business. I have no idea. I guess like newspapers that are just, I don't know. But yeah, it's just that. And if you notice on our social media, we're not really we're not pushing our product. because I feel like that would be the wrong approach because then it would just become another retail store. I think the approach that we're taking is showing the culture, showing the things that people might take for granted, the little hidden gems that, because when people think of India, I'm thinking from an American perspective or a European perspective. There's still very much stereotypical things that come to people's minds. So maybe showcasing how, India still, to a very large extent, does still value the slowness of life, like how you start your episodes, take a cup of chai. That's an art that, in America, it's much more, days blend into each other in America, where they don't typically do that in India. So I think our approach to bring that value to consumers is to show there's an entire culture that still has that value, and it brings value to your life to appreciate that kind of
Yeah.
value.
It's more of a handmade or machine made, it's
Absolutely.
how do you choose that,
And
that's
there's yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say there's an entire concept in Japan as well, the wabi-sabi, which is like the imperfections.
Yeah.
And to see something in your home that you purchased that you know which artisan made it, and to see the imperfections in that, like, oh, that's where there's a little chip or a little crack, or maybe these two patterns don't align. There's so much beauty in that, as opposed to something that's just, everything looks exactly the same. Yeah, to live in a society where people can find that that's actually so much more beautiful than just, uniformed things, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So what is the most, I would say, surprising lesson you've learned in this entrepreneurial journey of yours?
I think it brought a lot of hope. I think before this, I had a lot of like hopelessness or, fear that this is society is just turning into some type of dystopian, like novel. Yeah, seeing this and the more we delved into trying to bring artisanship to a global platform, the more I learned myself how much more there is of that there. And, I kind of compare it to like as if it's a painting, like the more you can observe a painting and it's beautiful. And then the closer you look at it, every brushstroke has its own beauty. And the closer you look at it, the more beauty you find in it. And I feel like that's what Imroz has brought to me. It's the more that we try to show the beauty of Imroz, the deeper we go, the more beauty I discover for myself. That, it's just a self-sustaining cycle. I love it.
Yeah.
And there's still so much art that is not yet out there for the public to see, and it is very appreciative that you're the medium to bring that art out and show it to the global market. That's very nice. And as you go deeper, I'm pretty sure you must be finding a lot of different forms of art that even we go to India multiple times, so we will know that there's something out there.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, like even when I go, even my mom sometimes she'll like nonchalantly be like, "Oh yeah, have you heard of like this like whirly art?" One time she said, I never even heard of the word. And then you go into it and there's a whole world of that. Like there's so much history and culture in India that even the smallest thing that someone would be like, "Oh yeah, there's that." There's an entire universe of just that. It's mind-blowing how much is there.
So do you like share the story behind the pieces? Like, we've done an episode with another artist, a woman from India who brings she does sari fabrics. And she brings different kinds of fabrics from different artisans, and she has a lovely store in India, and she's based in India. But she was sharing us that she actually tells the clients, like, their story, like, okay, this is from this region and this is the story. So I was wondering if you do the same with your products. Like, do you share those? So in that way, I guess you get to the consumer gets connected with
Yeah.
the product, right?
That more personal approach. So we're having these like cards printed where you can see the artisan that made your piece.
Right.
It's a little more ambitious because like as I told you, we've changed our shipping model a few times. So it's hard to track that sometimes, especially if we're sending from the Jaipur to the Delhi to the American place. So we're trying to figure out an efficient way to do that. But we definitely know the piece that's going, which specific artisan made that. But if they can somehow get that information and maybe have a little snippet of a video of them maybe completing one piece of their thing, it'll be a way for them to personally connect with that piece and it'll bring much more value to it. So that's something that we're definitely working on. So once we can get that logistically, and as you know, things are becoming a little bit more difficult in the political climate to get logistically clear. So once we cross a few hurdles,
Yeah.
lovely. Because that's what the world should be. You know, society should be the more acclimated we get, that's a better society. I feel like we're heading in a different direction where we're all trying to separate each other from each other.
And have you find an issue with, because when you're dealing with personal artisans, right, they have limitation to produce a number of items, right? You could get an order that would, that would prevent that particular artisan to create that many pieces. Have you come across any kind of those issues?
Yes, so we not that often, but we do corporate gifting as well. We did have that, and that it does pose I would say that's a blessing to have that kind of challenge, you know, if you know,
Yeah.
you get that many people to appreciate it. But for that so yeah, we had to grow our team, we had to, you know, figure out how we're gonna manage that deadline efficiently, but it got done. I feel like, you know, where there's a will, there's always a way, and you feel like it's impossible until the last second, and then it just happens. But yeah, I think that's a good challenge, and knock on wood, we have many more of those challenges where, you know, we have to grow our team, but it's very satisfying to grow your team because you get to and it brings like a morale to everybody where you see that, you know, we're all doing this and people have interest and people are appreciating the work.
Yeah.
And that's always really great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you balance the creative and the business side of running the Imroz Niwas? How do you balance it?
I think that's where my mom and my teamwork comes in because it really helps me balance that really well. Sometimes she handles more of the logistical back end things. I'll do all the creative. Sometimes we flip flop. Sometimes we'll work together on some things. Currently, when we're designing new collections, I'll do the designing and then I'll have her give me like from, you know, fresh eyes. Cause sometimes you're so deep into it, you don't see and so
Yeah.
then have her look at it from fresh eyes and be like, "Well, you know, I don't think that could logically work," or "I don't think that would people would," you know, so it things balance out really well. But yeah, I think that's the thing, setting priorities and balancing it. Otherwise, you will lose your mind because
Yeah.
it's completely different worlds, the creative and sometimes the business side just it throws water over the whole thing. It makes you not want to do it again. You know, when you
Yeah.
have to put you have to think of, like, putting value on things and, like, making sure you sell enough, like, that stuff is not why I got into it in the first place, you know, so
Right.
some of
Yeah.
the
So do you, some of the pieces that are on your website or some of the art forms that you're selling, do you actually give your designs to the artisans and then they create them?
Yes, yes. So, yeah,
Mm.
in the beginning, we do all the designing, and then it's kind of a collaboration in the sense that we use their expertise. Sometimes they'll recommend, you know, maybe if we use this material, because of course they come with this. This is what their daily bread is, so they know better than us. So sometimes we'll tweak designs based on their recommendations that this would work better if we, you know, thickened this, or if we use this wood instead, or this metal, and so that will get tweaked but we'll come up with the whole concept in the beginning and
Mhm.
make sure because we wanna make sure it's marketable on a global scale, it's not too niche, and so, yeah, that's very important, but we couldn't do it without, you know, the collaboration of the artisans in the end. Because of course, they'll be like, "We'll make it how you want it," you know, but they
Yeah.
if we wanna use their advice, they could tell us, "Maybe we should do it this way," and the more that we value their advice, the more they're happy to make it, you know, because they feel like they're a part of it.
Yeah.
And then their true form of art also comes out in that form, because then
Absolutely.
they have their own feedback that no, this might look good or whatever.
Absolutely. They're more invested in it. It's their piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what is the long term vision for this brand? Where do you see Imrose in the next 5 years?
I would love to just keep growing awareness of it, have people, know more about it. Again, see, I come from the more creative side, so I don't want to say I just want to make more sales because that just kind of it puts a bad taste in my mouth. But it's not just that. I just want people to know more about it, appreciate more about what the ethos of the whole company is, and maybe, yeah, just spread the word about it, have more appreciation about it. And maybe corporate gifting would be, if we can grow that side of the business a bit more, I think that would help a lot in getting, if businesses can have it more useful in their day to day, I think that, because that's where things have become very fast manufacturing. People have lost the art of slowing down, especially in the corporate world. So if
Yeah.
we can get the corporate world to appreciate the art of today and slowing down, I feel like that, we would want. So that would be my ultimate goal.
Yeah. And not only that, but also if there's more, like I said, the more corporate people start looking at it, then the word of the pieces, the artisans pieces also get spreaded fast in a vast amount, right? Right. One consumer might buy just one or two items, but then if the corporate account, they might be buying 20, 100, 200, 500, how many more pieces, right? So that's the word gets spread really fast in that sense.
Mentality changes faster, because if corporate people are like, yeah, yeah, we want everything now, 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 but oh, but have you seen this piece? It took like, 6 weeks to make this piece. That's so beautiful, just to make them pause. The people that work the
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's there.
Oh, I guess my background.
Yeah.
But
No
yeah.
worries.
So coming from a corporate background, I know that that's where our mentality really has to shift.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is so true because, like we were talking, it's one company and with maybe 100 employees, and it's still that whole changes, the whole mindset of that all 100 employees changes because when they look at this and they read the story behind it, it touches their heart and it truly means something. Like as an employee, it means something, right? Like, oh wow, this is
Yeah.
something really, it connects kind of like,
Yeah.
right?
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So what advice would you give to another women, especially our Desi women who want to start their own brand or a creative business? What would your advice be for them?
I would say find the thing that you're most passionate about first, instead of something that might do better in the marketplace, because I think that's what would directly influence what would do better. If you can make something with a true passion, and once you find that, because that's also going to be your day to day. So if you're not fully passionate about it, you're not going to invest as much of yourself into it, which is very much needed, because when to make something grow, you're going to be putting all of yourself and then some into it. And if you're not fully passionate, you're going to resent it. So find something that, really has some meaning for you, that you want to see flourish with your full heart, and why. And if you can point out to yourself why this is important to you, then it's worth going into. And then find people. I feel like without people, without the right people and the right team, it's really hard to make anything get off the ground. And if you can build a support, not everyone is lucky enough to already have a support system.
Yeah.
So, either network or grow somehow by word of mouth, a team that you can fully rely on and they can rely on you. And I think that's a key to make it succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what keeps you motivated on tough days when things don't go according to the plan?
When there are those days.
Everybody has those days.
What keeps me motivated? Again, it's to remind myself of the things that brought me a lot of satisfaction. Like, for example, like the scholarship fund it's something that's more recent, so that's bringing me a lot of joy, that's something I could do. So things that not I'm not saying put yourself into a box, but like to be like, "Oh, I'm doing this, and without this, that wouldn't exist." And so sometimes you lose perspective of that because you're thinking of this is just my to-do list for today, but just zoom out a bit and be like, well, overall, this is what I'm doing. And if I wasn't doing this, then blank, blank, which brought me satisfaction yesterday, that wouldn't happen, you know?
Yeah.
If you just keep reminding yourself of that, you're you'll one thing that's might be frustrating you today.
Yeah. That's fantastic. It's something I'm reading the book of Mel Robinson about, let that be. And like, so you let go of little things and you learn that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess
finally, the last question. What is one quote or mantra that you live by as a founder?
well, that's such a good question. A quote or a mantra. As a business person, I feel like it would just be as general because I still don't consider myself a business person. It's just, something that I live by. It's the people contain multitudes and that everyone's multitude should be celebrated. Yeah, and I think you can do that in many different ways, whether that's through empowering other female entrepreneurs or just spreading awareness of artisanship or just accepting your neighbor for who they are. I think embracing people's multitudes and moving forward, and I think you can live a very full and satisfying life.
That's very good. That's very good. Yeah, that's awesome. Bhavna, did you wanted to say something add to that or?
Oh, I'm very, very happy to see that more and more people are embracing the culture, the art of India and bringing them into the global market. And you're doing one, you're one of them to bring that. And it's very nice and very appreciative. So, our next generation, born and raised here, still can stay connected via these entrepreneurship and your efforts. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'd highly let all my listeners know that please go check her website and connect with you on the social media. We'll put all the in the description, all the links and everything will be there in the description for the podcast. But I highly recommend you go check it out. It's an amazing, amazing products out there. And really, I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. Like, really, truly beautiful. It's very nice. So, I would let all my listeners know that do check it out. And Tanya, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your beautiful journey from your roots in India to building a purpose and driven brand like Imroz Niwas here in US. So it's inspiring to see how you've blended tradition and sustainability and the entrepreneurship with you with so much grace and intention. That's really, really awesome. I really like that. Honestly, it's like seeing the second generation, as you are like your mom and it's like seeing you grow and getting in touch with Indian culture and bringing all that culture back here. It just touches my heart and it's really lovely. It's just so beautiful. I like that. So, to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Global Desi Women. If today's conversation inspired you, please follow us, leave us a review, share this episode with your anybody who believes in creating a beautiful business or has a purpose in life. Share this episode definitely. And again, thank you, Tanya, for joining in. And we appreciate your time and we wish you all the best and success. And anytime you feel like coming back to our podcast, sharing another story or your success, come on back. We welcome you with open arms.
Thank you so much. It was so lovely speaking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna. And until next time, stay connected, stay conscious, and keep building a life you love and be kind to yourself and to others. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.